Most home service owners believe the same thing. If we do good work, customers will choose us. If we have experience, reviews, and reputation, we will win the job. That belief feels reasonable, and in many cases, it is true. Quality matters, reputation matters. But here is the part most owners miss. Quality only matters after contact is made. Before that, speed decides everything. Because customers do not compare quality until someone responds. And when help feels urgent, the company that responds first sets the direction, not because they are better, but because they are present. Now let's talk about what actually happens after a customer decides to call. This moment is short, much shorter than most business owners realize. A customer does not set aside an hour to research companies. They grab their phone, they search, they start dialing. And once someone answers, the process changes. Questions start getting asked. Details are gathered. An appointment is discussed. The customer begins to feel progress. At that point, the decision window starts closing. Not because the customer found the best company, but because the problem is now being handled. This is the moment most businesses never see. Speed does not just win attention. Speed removes comparison. Because once the process starts, customers stop shopping. They move forward. Here is what that looks like in real life. A customer is not sitting down with a spreadsheet. They are standing in a kitchen with water on the floor. They are sitting in a cold house waiting for heat. They are looking at a leaking roof, hoping it does not get worse. When someone answers the phone, the customer feels momentum. Not relief yet. Momentum. Questions are being asked. A window of time is being offered. Next steps are being explained. That forward motion shrinks the decision space. The customer stops thinking, who is the best? And starts thinking, this is getting handled. That is how speed quietly wins jobs. At this point, most owners think the same thing. But we are the better company. We do better work. We have more experience. We care more. And that may all be true. This is not about bad companies beating good ones. It is about timing. Quality only matters after contact is made. Before that, customers cannot experience your quality. They cannot compare your reputation. They cannot evaluate your expertise. All they can experience is response. Speed is not replacing quality. Speed is deciding who gets considered. Once the conversation starts, quality has a chance. But if the conversation never starts, quality never enters the equation. That is the part most owners overlook. Here is where the misunderstanding usually lives. Owners assume customers are choosing between companies. But in most urgent situations, customers are choosing between outcomes. They are choosing between waiting and moving forward, between uncertainty and progress. The company that answers first does not automatically win the job. They win the opportunity to be evaluated. Everyone else never enters the process. This is why being better does not always matter, not because quality is irrelevant, but because timing decides who gets considered. Speed does not lower standards. It opens the door for standards to matter. Here's the uncomfortable part most owners have seen but rarely talk about. You have lost jobs to worse companies. Not because they did better work, not because they had better reviews, but because they answered first. Every owner can think of a competitor like this. The truck looks rough. The website is outdated. The reputation is questionable. And yet they keep getting jobs. That is not an accident. They are available. They respond quickly. They make it easy to move forward. Customers do not choose them because they are impressive. They choose them because they are present. Speed fills the gap that quality never gets to touch. And once momentum starts, most customers do not reset and shop again. This does not happen only in bad markets. It happens in good markets, busy markets, competitive markets, markets where demand is already high. Because when demand increases, response speed matters more. Customers feel pressure to lock something in. They do not want to start over. They do not want to repeat their situation to 5 different companies. So the first company that creates forward motion benefits, not because they are perfect, but because they reduce friction. Speed reduces friction, and friction is what kills momentum. That is why being available keeps winning. Here is what most people miss about speed. Speed does not stop mattering after the phone is answered. It adds up. The company that responds first sets the pace. They decide how quickly questions get answered, how soon an appointment is offered, how confident the customer feels about next steps. That confidence matters because customers follow momentum. When things move quickly, customers assume the company is organized, reliable, professional, not because they verified it, but because the experience feels smooth. Meanwhile, slower companies start from behind. They are calling back later, leaving messages, trying to re-enter a decision that already feels settled. At that point, speed has already done the work. The job is leaning in one direction. Here is why this momentum is so powerful. Customers interpret speed as competence. They assume the company that responds quickly has their operations together. They assume the scheduling will be smoother, the communication will be clearer, and problems will be handled faster. That assumption is rarely questioned because most customers do not have time to test 5 companies. They trust the experience they are having right now. And once trust forms, switching feels risky. Calling another company means starting over, repeating the problem, waiting again. So speed does not just win attention, it creates commitment. This is why speed wins jobs, not because faster companies are better, but because they are available when decisions are being made. Quality still matters, reputation still matters, but only after someone answers the phone. Speed does not replace quality. It determines who gets evaluated. And in urgent situations, the company that responds first often controls the outcome. In the next video, we are going to talk about why many businesses believe they already solved this problem and why they are still losing jobs anyway.